This is an ABC News special report. Now reporting, David Muir.
Good afternoon. We're coming on the air because just moments ago, amid global concern and speculation, Princess Catherine has now revealed her personal health battle and why she kept it secret. The Princess of Wales releasing a video a short time ago sharing she is being treated for cancer. She says she underwent major abdominal surgery in January, which we reported at the time. And she says that at the time, her doctors thought her condition was non-cancerous. After the operation, tests showed there was cancer present, and the princess says the surgery was a success, that she's now undergoing preventative chemotherapy. She calls the diagnosis a huge shock, in her words, to both her and Prince William. Catherine also revealing it has taken time for her to come forward because she first wanted to explain the condition to their 3 young children and let them know she's going to be okay. Here's Princess Catherine in a recorded statement released just moments ago by the royal family.
Personally, for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding whilst I've been recovering from surgery. It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who have taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful. In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present. My medical team therefore advised that I should undergo a course of preventative chemotherapy, and I'm now in the early stages of that treatment. This, of course, came as a huge shock, and William and I have been doing everything we can to process and manage this privately for the sake of our young family. As you can imagine, this has taken time. It has taken me time to recover from major surgery in order to start my treatment. But most importantly, it has taken us time to explain everything to George, Charlotte, and Louis in a way that's appropriate for them and to reassure them that I'm going to be okay. As I've said to them, I am well and getting stronger every day by focusing on the things that will help me heal in my mind, body, and spirits. Having William by my side is a great source of comfort and reassurance too, as is the love, support, and kindness that has been shown by so many of you. It means so much to us both. We hope that you'll understand that as a family, we now need some time, space, and privacy while I complete my treatment. My work has always brought me a deep sense of joy, and I look forward to being back when I'm able. But for now, I must focus on making a full recovery. At this time, I'm also thinking of all those whose lives have been affected by cancer. For everyone facing this disease, in whatever form, please do not lose faith or hope. You are not alone.
The statement from Princess Catherine from Buckingham Palace just moments ago, an extraordinarily raw and personal statement from the princess herself, talking about how she is now undergoing preventative chemotherapy for cancer that was discovered in tests that followed that abdominal surgery that we reported back in January. As you know, back in January, Buckingham Palace only revealed that she was undergoing that surgery, was not expected to resume royal duties until around Easter. She was mostly out of the public eye, appearing with Prince William at a farm in Windsor just a few days ago. There was video of that seen around the world. A Mother's Day photo of Princess Catherine and her children raising questions when it was learned that the photo was digitally altered. Catherine undergoing surgery at the same time and at the same facility as King Charles, who revealed he was being treated for a prostate issue. The palace later informing the public that he has cancer and is being treated for that. They have not specified which type. Let's stick to Princess Catherine for now. I want to bring in Maggie Rulli outside Buckingham Palace in London. Maggie, what more have we learned?
Hi, David. I think right now people are just still in shock from this news. You know, even Catherine used that word. This is shocking. We have been following this story for weeks now. We've seen this global concern for her health, but it really feels as almost no one felt that this was the diagnosis, a cancer diagnosis for Princess Catherine. I think right now people do have a lot of questions. People ask Kensington Palace what kind of cancer, what stage of cancer. Right now they are saying this is a private matter and it's going to stay that way. I think for me what's also so shocking is thinking of Kate right now. She's so young, 42 years old, a mom to 3 young kids. She talks about them in that personal video of giving them time to process this. She's been in relatively good health. She's athletic. I think, again, hearing this news, the country is going to need time to process this. Right now, it's really flooring people.
Maggie Rulli, right there outside Buckingham Palace. Maggie, thank you. I want to bring in our royal contributor, Victoria Murphy, as well. And Victoria, you've learned more about why the timing has been as such, learning now, the people of the UK and certainly around the world listening to this message from Princess Catherine. You heard her reference there. She needed time to explain this to their children, but an extraordinary moment. And in fact, I can't remember one like this from the royal family.
No, exactly, and neither can I. And now we have a situation where we have both the King and the Princess of Wales being treated for undisclosed forms of cancer. It really is unprecedented, and it does have that very destabilizing effect, David. I mean, I was in a call with Kensington Palace earlier on today where this was laid out for us and it was explained to us. And as Maggie said, the overriding sentiment there was just complete shock that this is what we are hearing. Some of the things that they were very keen to get across, one was that this decision to announce this is not some kind of reaction to these conspiracy theories that have been swirling. This is about the princess deciding in her own time to announce this in the way that was best for her and her family. And I think it was very important to her to do that in her own words, in a video message, to talk directly to the public who has been so interested and so keen to know how she is doing and to tell them. And the other thing that I really felt came across, David, was how so much of the decisions that they have made in the past few weeks have really been about focusing on their children and putting their children first. And even the timing of this announcement really is all about, I think, protecting the children, because their children, George, Charlotte and Louis, have just broken up for their Easter holidays there. So they're now able to take the children away from their school environment, keep them in a bubble with them and really protect them from the outside world while this news and while this reaction hits the rest of the world and while people are talking about it. The inference there that we got from that discussion that we had with Kensington Palace was that it took them some time to tell the children. It doesn't seem like the children were told straight away, but they are not giving us lots of specific information about what has gone on behind the scenes because they are also trying to maintain their privacy.
Victoria, I would also imagine, and I'm assuming this from the timing of this, in mentioning that the children are home now for the Easter break, they won't be surrounded by other young people, other folks who might be able to ask questions at school and elsewhere, that this will be a time for the family and a somewhat protected time also would explain why there's been this sort of time frame in waiting to tell the public.
I think that is exactly right. I think that is exactly it. She has been processing this information. She's been discussing it with her husband, and they've been considering how to talk to their children about it, bearing in mind that their children go to school. They go to school with other children. They interact with other children. Even things like telling their children something like this and then asking them not to talk to anyone about it is a difficult thing to do. So all of these things will have been going on in their minds. And I think the timing of this announcement is about the fact that they can now take their children away from the outside world. They're going to be having time as a family. And we've been told that not to expect to see them appear at that Easter Sunday service. This announcement also answers that question that had sort of been bubbling up recently. When are we going to see her next? Because, of course, there was a video of her seen walking, looking well, looking in good spirits. And so people were starting to ask, well, will she be at the Easter Sunday service with other members of the royal family? And so this now answers that question and gives us a lot more context for understanding why they're not going to be there as a family.
Victoria Murphy with us here as we report the breaking news from Buckingham Palace. Princess Catherine revealing a short time ago that she is undergoing preventative chemotherapy for cancer. Victoria, thank you. I want to bring in Dr. Darian Sutton, who's with me here on the desk in New York. And it's really impossible to speculate what's happening here, at least from a medical perspective, because when you hear preventative chemotherapy, this really could be a category for a number of different types of cancer.
Absolutely, David. So when you talk about preventative chemotherapy, it really depends on what type of cancer we're talking about. It can be different from one patient to another. The main goals of preventative chemotherapy commonly when they're used in the world of oncology is, number one, to prevent the risk of recurrence. And then in certain cases, the surgeon or the oncologist might be concerned that there are residual cancer cells there. And again, that goal of that preventative chemotherapy is to prevent those cancer cells from becoming a problem in the future.
So that's sort of two different categories. There could be a situation where the cancer they believe is out, but that they would prescribe preventative chemotherapy to make sure, or to try to ensure it doesn't come back. There could be another scenario, for example, where they might believe there could be some cancer left and they want to try to go at it right away.
And that is quite possible. And also the type of chemotherapy is also indicated or dictated by the type of cancer we're talking about. In certain cases, you can have targeted chemotherapy, and in other cases, you can give more general chemotherapy. Now, that's important for the patient to know about, just in terms of what to expect.
And when we hear about abdominal surgery back in January, this had been reported at the time, it would likely be foolish to assume that this is abdominal cancer. It could be any number of different types of cancer based on what they discovered afterwards, according to the Buckingham Palace here.
That's exactly correct. So when you talk about abdominal surgery and abdominal cancers, that can include a variety of different causes. We can talk about stomach cancer, we can talk about colon cancer, and we can also talk about uterine cancer and ovarian cancer. All of these cancers, as well as other types of cancers, can be possible, but we do not know that information as we respect her privacy.
We're getting reaction from the Prime Minister of the UK, Dr. Darian Sutton. Darian, thank you. I want to bring back in Maggie for reaction from the Prime Minister. What are you hearing?
Yeah, we just heard from the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, here in the UK. He had a statement. The love and support of the whole country goes out to the Princess of Wales after she announced she's undergoing treatment for cancer. I think, David, it can't be overstated how important the royal family is for this country, and the fact that the Princess of Wales, the future queen, just announced that she has cancer. It's really rocking this country right now so much. The Prime Minister made that statement almost immediately after her video was released.
Maggie Rulli outside Buckingham Palace. Maggie, thank you. Our chief medical editor, Jen Ashton, also with us on the phone. And Dr. Ashton, just to add what Dr. Sutton was offering just moments ago, when you hear from Buckingham Palace that they discovered the cancer in testing following the surgery, that's not uncommon.
Right, David. I mean, I think when people hear this story, if they're undergoing elective scheduled surgery, it can be frightening, right, to think you're going in for surgery for one thing and you come out then sometime after the surgery in the postoperative period with a diagnosis of cancer. It's important to understand that before we take a patient to the operating room, there are certain tumor markers that can be tested for with blood tests, and then there's imaging, CAT scans, MRIs, ultrasounds that tend to give the surgeon an idea whether something is malignant or benign. After the surgery, when the patient goes home to recover, that's when the pathologists are going to be studying those specimens, and that's why there can be a delay and getting a cancer diagnosis somewhat unexpectedly in the postoperative period.
And Dr. Jen, when you hear Princess Catherine in that message toward the end there saying, I am well, I am getting stronger every day, I must focus on a full recovery now, what does that tell you?
Mind-body connection, David. You and I have talked about it before. It's so important when people recover from any operation, whether it's routine, whether it's scheduled, or whether it's emergent. The mind has to heal and the body has to heal, and those processes take time, and someone's spirit and someone's mindset is as important as their physical condition going into that period.
And we cannot overstate the fact that she is 42 years old, the mother of 3 young children, so she ought to be afforded all the time that she needs to get stronger and to get better. Jen Ashton with us as well. Jen, thank you as always. I want to bring in ABC News contributor, royal editor at the London Evening Standard for one final thought here. Robert, you and I have been on the air covering the royals so often, and I can't remember a situation, first of all, where we've heard Princess Catherine at this length in front of the camera with a message being seen by the world, and certainly under these circumstances, but also big picture here to know that the king is battling some form of cancer and that Princess Catherine now says she's being treated for preventative chemotherapy for a type of cancer as well. This is an extraordinary moment for the royal family.
Well, David, as Maggie said, this is deeply, deeply shocking. I think a lot of people didn't expect anything like this. Not only to have the king, who's obviously not really, he's carrying out constitutional duties, but he's recovering and being treated for cancer. But the other real star performer, the Princess of Wales, to come out and what I thought was a courageous statement, the way she gave that address. It showed what a steely character she is, and what your guests have been saying about how important it is for her to have the mental application to deal with this. I have no doubt whatsoever she has that. She's somebody who I think is a very strong person. You know, not only she is the mother of 3, but she's deeply committed to the royal family and to making sure that she, and I think there was what I felt in that statement was that real determination to beat this, and I'm sure that the media will give them the time and space that they need, but it does, on the bigger picture, put a lot of pressure on Prince William, the Prince of Wales, the heir to the throne, and the other members of the royal family. There are fewer and fewer, it seems, but with the two star performers, the King and the Princess of Wales, out of action, it does draw a lot of attention on Prince William, who's got a lot to deal with at the moment.
Robert Jobson with us as well this afternoon as we report the news that's coming in from Buckingham Palace. Princess Catherine and that statement to the world, to the people of the UK and certainly around the globe who've been concerned about her absence in recent weeks, saying she is being treated with preventative chemotherapy for a cancer that showed up in testing following that abdominal surgery. We should mention the White House addressing this just moments ago, saying our thoughts are with the Duchess of Cambridge and her family, her friends during this incredibly difficult time. Certainly we wish her a full recovery. We respect their privacy, especially at this time. I should note that also quite telling in that message, at least for me, was the fact that she pointed out the millions of others, certainly through the UK and around the world, who are battling some form of cancer. She indicated that her thoughts are with them as well as she fights this in what has become a very public way beginning today. Our coverage is going to continue. ABC News Live, abcnews.com, and of course, I'll be back with the entire team a bit later for World News Tonight. I'm David Muir in New York. Until then, good day.
This has been a special report from ABC News.
And good afternoon, I'm Terry Moran.
And I'm Kira Phillips. We do continue to follow the breaking news. As you just heard, Catherine, Princess of Wales, has been diagnosed with cancer. The princess saying in that video that she is in the early stages of preventative chemotherapy treatment, which she started in late February. She said that tests following her abdominal surgery in January actually revealed the cancer, and that at the time of her surgery, doctors thought her condition was non-cancerous.
So it was discovered during that surgery, and the princess went on to say that this diagnosis, of course, came as a huge shock and that it took her time to recover from major surgery and start treatment, and to explain to her 3 young children what is happening with her health and their family, and that she's going to be okay. She said having her husband, Prince William, by her side was, quote, a great source of comfort and reassurance. She also asked for privacy while she completes her treatment. The royal family often not offered that privacy. She wants to focus on making a full recovery here, of course. She said she looks forward to returning to public life, something she said she loved doing, her duties and work with the royal family.
For more, we want to bring in our foreign correspondent, Maggie Rulli. She's there at Buckingham Palace, along with our royal contributor, Robert Jobson, who's also with her, and our royal contributor, Victoria Murphy, and also medical correspondent, Dr. Darian Sutton. So, Victoria, let's start with you. Still a few unanswered questions about the princess and her diagnosis. We really don't know what type of cancer it is, where it is. We just know she went in for abdominal surgery. She wants to remain private, but of course, you know, there's a lot of people that want to know more.
Hi there. Yes. Well, I think, you know, just completely shocking news, really. And I think one of the reasons it was so shocking is because actually one of the few things that we had been told about her procedure back in January was that it was not thought to be cancerous. That was the guidance at the time, clearly, because that was what they understood at the time. And so to now have this information that it is indeed cancerous and that she is having what they are describing as preventative chemotherapy. And I actually asked the question in a briefing earlier on today. I said, are you able to explain what you mean by preventative chemotherapy instead of just saying chemotherapy? And I was told that they would get back to me, but that was the medical term that they had been given. They're very keen to be very specific about the fact this is preventative chemotherapy that she is having. But we understand that she started that around February time and that this is now ongoing. I think really reflects the situation that we are in, where she is this mother with young children who has had this very devastating piece of news and has been coming to terms with this on a personal level. But she is also the Princess of Wales, and there has been all this interest in her recovery, and she holds a public position within her society. And so she has now decided to come forward and release this personal video message and tell people in her own words what has been happening up to a point, as you say, because like the King, she's not telling us exactly what kind of cancer she has.
Thank you very much. I want to go to Maggie Rulli now. Maggie, we do have this statement from the White House. The press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, at the top of the briefing today said, our thoughts are with the Duchess of Cambridge, the Princess of Wales, of course, and her family members and friends during this incredibly difficult time, and certainly we wish her a full recovery. And it's important that we respect their privacy, especially at this time. And Maggie, I want to ask about the reaction there. As an American who also lived in London, we watched the royal family from afar. When you're there, you get a sense, obviously, that's the family of the sovereign. It goes back 1,000 years. What reaction are the British people having to this news?
Yeah, Tara, I think it's such a good point. I mean, the royal family is so embedded in the culture here. Americans sort of look on from afar and are fascinated by it. But living in the UK, it's the family that people grow up with. It's people that are often thought of as almost the grandfather and grandmother, sister, brother in the room with them. And so having news like this, I mean, not only is it shocking, but it's heartbreaking for many people. Many people feel as if it's happening to almost a family member, someone they know really well, someone they've grown up with, and especially someone like Princess Kate. You know, she is so well liked by the UK people. She's very well loved. They have kind of grown up with her. She's been dating Prince William, now married to him for so long. They have 3 little kids that are cherished here. So to have this news come out, a cancer diagnosis about her, someone who's not only the Princess of Wales, but she's just 42 years old, it's shocking. I really feel as if almost no one felt we would be getting this news this afternoon. And now people are just sort of reeling with this reality.
So, Dr. Sutton, let me ask you, we don't know what kind of cancer it is. They're being very private about it. But just possibilities or your thoughts or what you're thinking. She goes in for abdominal surgery and then discovers she has cancer. What could some of the possibilities be?
You know, there's a wide variety of possibilities when I think about the reasons why someone might, number one, need major abdominal surgery, and then what was found. When you talk about cancers that are found in the abdomen, that can be anything from stomach or colon cancer to even include uterine or ovarian cancer. And so the causes of, or the reason why this cancer was found, or what the signs and symptoms associated to it won't really be understood, obviously, as we respect her privacy. But then there's also the use of something called preventative chemotherapy, which can be different from person to person and is also dependent on the type of cancer that person has. And there's also different types of chemotherapy, being targeted chemotherapy versus a more general form of chemotherapy. These are all things that patients need to understand in order to better know what to expect.
Thank you, Dr. Sutton. And we want to go back and listen to Kate again, Princess Kate, the Princess of Wales, and her full statement that she gave just a little while ago, just after 6 p.m. London time. This is the statement that the British people heard, that the whole world heard, as Princess Kate delivered the news that she is battling cancer.
I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you personally for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding whilst I've been recovering from surgery. It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who've taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful. In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present. My medical team therefore advised that I should undergo a course of preventative chemotherapy, and I'm now in the early stages of that treatment. This, of course, came as a huge shock. And William and I have been doing everything we can to process and manage this privately for the sake of our young family. As you can imagine, this has taken time. It has taken me time to recover from major surgery in order to start my treatment. But most importantly, it has taken us time to explain everything to George, Charlotte, and Louis in a way that's appropriate for them and to reassure them that I'm going to be okay. As I've said to them, I am well. And getting stronger every day by focusing on the things that will help me heal in my mind, body, and spirits. Having William by my side is a great source of comfort and reassurance too, as is the love, support, and kindness that has been shown by so many of you. It means so much to us both. We hope that you'll understand that as a family, We now need some time, space, and privacy while I complete my treatment. My work has always brought me a deep sense of joy, and I look forward to being back when I'm able. But for now, I must focus on making a full recovery. At this time, I'm also thinking of all those whose lives have been affected by cancer. For everyone facing this disease, in whatever form, please do not lose faith or hope. You are not alone.
The Princess of Wales and mom of 3 young children delivering the news to her people, to the people of Great Britain and the world, that she is battling cancer. I want to go back to Victoria Murphy on just, Victoria, you cover her in addition to the other members of the royal family. So you have a better sense of, you know, where she is. I thought the statement was full of courage, genuine emotion there, a sense of joy in her duties and her family, but also it seemed that she was somewhat drained and drawn. Is that, am I overstating the case? What did you see?
Well, I definitely think there is an element of that, because it's been a very, very difficult time for them, as she said. You know, having covered them in the time I have, one of the things that I've really come to learn about her is that she does have a lot of inner strength, and she can be very, very cool and very, very calm on the outside. And she seems to have this capacity to kind of draw inside and find this strength for things. And I think it's what stood her in good stead for lots of ups and downs throughout the royal family over the years, and for the pressure of the spotlight as well, which is a very significant thing. And I think this could well be her sort of biggest test so far, dealing with this incredibly challenging personal news while also holding the position that she has. I mean, something that's come across very strongly to me over the course of this is just how much she really wants to protect her family, and that is absolutely fundamental to her 3 children's well-being.
Victoria, thank you so much. We are going to continue following the breaking news. To all of you that are just joining us, Princess Kate coming forward, giving a very rare statement. You will see that and learn more. But what she has now told us, that she has cancer. Glad you're streaming with us. Stay with us. Our coverage continues.
Whenever news breaks,
we are here in Israel, a nation at war after that brutal surprise attack by Hamas.
On the ground in Ukraine, reporting from Lewiston, Maine.
The scene of a horrific mass shooting.
ABC News Live is right there everywhere.
From the scene of that deadly missile strike in Dnipro, Ukraine.
Reporting from the earthquake in Turkey.
In Rolling Fork, this tornado tore through this little town.
From the most devastating disaster in Hawaii.
From Charleston, South Carolina, on the 2024 campaign trail.
In Iceland, let's go.
Traveling with the president in Mexico City.
Wherever the story.
From the front lines, from southern Israel.
Outside the Gaza Strip.
In Beirut.
From the FBI.
Reporting from the nurses on the picket line.
Here at 10 Downing Street in London.
Streaming live to you.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is. We're going to take you there.
You're streaming
ABC News Live.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live. Streaming free everywhere. America's #1 streaming news.
I have a point of contact.
They're expecting us?
This is our secret world we have.
Do you think we're going to be safe?
I don't know.
This is my pen. Inside that pen is a slice of human brain.
These are assassinations, and people are going to be murdered.
Definitely. There's really no telling what some of them will do.
Oh, my God, look.
It's happening everywhere and anywhere.
Wow.
The internet can be a scary place.
He had my name, my social security number, my address, and he named my husband and son.
But what's happening now?
Why'd you decide to get married?
I loved him.
Is just plain crazy scary.
You just bold-faced lied to me and made up a whole story.
Who did I marry?
Is this person actually who they say they are?
If you think you can't get played, just watch this. How I Got Played. This is Impact by Nightline, now streaming on Hulu.
Good afternoon, I'm Terry Moran.
And I'm Kira Phillips. We continue to follow our breaking news here on ABC News Live. Catherine, Princess of Wales, has come forward and admitted that she has been diagnosed with cancer.
The princess revealed this news in a video statement. She said she's in the early stages of preventative chemotherapy treatment now, which she started in late February. And we're going to listen to the princess's full statement right now.
I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you personally for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding whilst I've been recovering from surgery. It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who have taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful. In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present. My medical team therefore advised that I should undergo a course of preventative chemotherapy, and I'm now in the early stages of that treatment. This, of course, came as a huge shock, and William and I have been doing everything we can to process and manage this privately for the sake of our young family. As you can imagine, this has taken time. It has taken me time to recover from major surgery in order to start my treatment. But most importantly, it has taken us time to explain everything to George, Charlotte, and Louis in a way that's appropriate for them and to reassure them that I'm going to be okay. As I've said to them, I am well and getting stronger every day by focusing on the things that will help me heal in my mind, body, and spirits. Having William by my side is a great source of comfort and reassurance too, as is the love, support, and kindness that has been shown by so many of you. It means so much to us both. We hope that you'll understand that as a family, we now need some time, space, and privacy while I complete my treatment. My work has always brought me a deep sense of joy, and I look forward to being back when I'm able. But for now, I must focus on making a full recovery. At this time, I'm also thinking of all those whose lives have been affected by cancer. For everyone facing this disease, in whatever form, please do not lose faith or hope. You are not alone.
All right, so you just heard there the princess saying that tests following her abdominal surgery in January revealed the cancer, so sort of found incidentally, and that at the time of her surgery, doctors thought her condition was non-cancerous, and upon those tests being accomplished, they discovered the cancer.
And the princess saying there the diagnosis came as a huge shock and that it just took her time to take that all in and have the surgery and start treatment, and also to take the time to explain to her 3 children what exactly was happening with her health, and that, as you heard her say, that she's going to be okay. She said that her husband, Prince William, has been by her side and a great source of comfort and reassurance for her. She also asked for her privacy while she completes her treatment, and that she'll be focusing on making a full recovery. She said she looks forward to returning to public life when she is able, and that she loves doing that work.
Yeah, and that was a striking point. So for more on this, let's bring in ABC News foreign correspondent Maggie Rulli. She's at Buckingham Palace along with royal contributor Robert Jobson. He's right there with her. Royal contributor Victoria Murphy, who's with us on these stories all the time, and our ABC's medical correspondent, Dr. Darian Sutton. So, Maggie, first let me begin with you. If you could set the scene for people who've been hearing about Kate for a while and, you know, this fury on social media, what's the big mystery? Give us the facts. What led to this moment?
Yeah, well, Terry, we've been following this story for weeks. There's been such global concern about Kate's health, as you mentioned, sort of the social media firestorm about her whereabouts, what's going on, how is she doing? And now we have today's announcement. And honestly, I'm not really sure if anyone saw this coming. Immediately, people were just shocked. Listening to her and her recording now, I've been able to listen to it a couple times. And now that the shock is wearing off a bit, I'm also just struck by how emotional Kate is in that video. And I think as people start to listen to that video and the news sinks in, more people will be emotional as well, especially here in the UK, where the Princess of Wales is really beloved. People really love her and have grown up with her as part of this royal family. So I think as the news settles, people will really be taking this to heart and be heartbroken over it. You know, we've been following this, as I said. You asked what led up to this moment. We know she went in for what she just said in that video was a major abdominal surgery in January. And now she's revealing that while at the time it was believed to be non-cancerous, it was in post-operative tests that it came back that cancer had been present. She then said she had to have time to recover from that major major surgery. Then she went in to start what the palace is calling preventative chemotherapy. Now, we're only hearing about all of this now because she says it took her and William time to process this news. And not only that, it took them time to tell their children in an age-appropriate way and let them process this news. Now they feel like they're ready to go public with it, but again, still asking for privacy, guys.
And Victoria, the Prime Minister of UK, Rishi Sunak, coming forward saying in recent weeks she's been subjected to intense scrutiny and has been unfairly treated by certain sections of the media around the world and on social media. When it comes to matters of health, like everyone else, she must be afforded the privacy to focus on her treatment and be with her loving family. I know I speak for the whole country in wishing her a full and speedy recovery and look forward to seeing her back in action when she's ready. I just want to follow up, Victoria, on what the Prime Minister said here, that she was subjected to intense scrutiny and has been unfairly treated by certain sections of the media around the world. I mean, this has been, I think, a learning curve for the royal family, because you had the photoshopped picture, which created more questions. She hadn't been seen in public, which created more questions. So sure, privacy should be respected, but this is someone that a huge part of the world loves, and you know, loves her like they loved Princess Diana. So they want to know what's going on. So sometimes being too quiet can create sort of a worse situation. And I guess, you know, put into perspective, Americans here, you know, they want to know everything, where we know the British can be a little more private and subdued, but you can understand that folks just want to know that she's okay.
I think that's interesting, yeah, and it's true. And a lot of the interest has come from a place of people genuinely caring and really wanting to know what goes on. As you say, in the US, people might be more used to hearing the specifics of medical details of people who hold public positions. But over here, our royal family, they're not obliged to release anything. And there's precedent for both being open about medical procedures and also deciding to keep things private. And, you know, even the king, he's told us he's had cancer, but he hasn't told us what kind. And now Kate is following that path of being open up to a point, but she is also maintaining her privacy. It's something that came across to me today when I was hearing about the fact that she has cancer. It was that I think Kensington Palace are saying that, you know, there's an emphasis there that this isn't a reaction, this decision to make a statement to these conspiracy theories that have been swirling. This is about her deciding in her own time to tell the public in the way that was right for her and her family once she had come to terms with it. And it was clearly very important to her to sit there herself and say this in her own words and to deliver that message in a very clear way. And obviously that is going to put these conspiracy theories to bed. The footage was filmed by the BBC. It wasn't taken by any of her aides or anything. It was independently filmed footage. And she has been very clear about sending that message herself about what she is now going through.
Right. In some ways, when it comes to social media, we live in a very dumb age. But that's a great point, Victoria, about the way she brought this forward. And I want to take it to our Dr. Darian Sutton, our medical correspondent. While the royal family's reticent in some ways, I thought, Dr. Sutton, that that was a very forthcoming and genuine statement about what it's like to get this diagnosis, right? She talked about the shock, something that almost registered in her. Victoria's talked about her strength. You could sense that too. And I wonder if you could talk about, you know, those first stages and how important they are when somebody gets a diagnosis like this.
It's always difficult for everyone involved. You know, when we talk about the first stages of a diagnosis, I think it's important to discuss how there's a collaborative effort between different departments within the hospital. One of them being, for example, the surgeon, but we also get incredible assistance from our radiologists who are able to view these images and understand what to look for in the surgery. And then the pathologist after that procedure is the one who's looking at the tissues and the biopsies to understand if there is a cancer. And when you have to deliver that terrible news, it is never easy. It is never an easy time. And often patients use their moments to understand what this diagnosis means for not just right now, but also in the future. And then depending on what that diagnosis is, dictates what type of treatment we're going to do. Within this statement that she has made, she talked a lot about preventative chemotherapy, which is relatively a subjective statement. It can mean a variety of things, but more commonly, it's often done in a way where you want to reduce the risk of something recurring or coming back. And in certain cases, if the surgeon or the oncologist has suspicion that there might be residual cancer cells, that is another method by which preventative chemotherapy would be utilized. And then, of course, what follows after that. It's a long course of screening, continuous rechecks to make sure that what you've done is successful and to rule out any signs of recurrence or spread.
So, Robert, let me ask you this. You know, we don't often hear from the princess directly like this. So just talk to us about the significance of her telling us herself, and very in casual wear, sitting outside, clearly in the garden. I mean, it's a beautiful, simple, and humbling 2 minutes of remarks.
Absolutely, but I thought it was incredibly courageous to do that, to actually face the public in that way. I think after all this speculation online, some of it incredibly fanciful, I think that she was right to address it personally so people could actually look at her and see her, that she, as she said, I am well, I am being treated, and also to be able to raise awareness to other cancer sufferers. I think it was a tremendously brave thing to do, and I think she delivered it with aplomb, and it shows the steely side of the princess that Victoria was talking about. Everyone talks about her being a gentle mother of three, that she's such a kind person, but she's all of those things, but she's also got a great engine in her. She's somebody that just keeps going. She's very determined, she's very hard-working, and I'm sure, actually, that she will be back because she has the positive mental attitude, really, when it comes to these things. We know that she's been out trying to sort of keep going out walking, keeping fit. But I think what was important here is that she was putting her family first and saying, look, there's been basically, I've got to deal with this. I want my privacy, and I need to be spending some time with my children and my husband away from the public eye. And I think that will certainly be respected in this country. I feel also for Prince William, the Prince of Wales, at this time. Not only his father is being treated for cancer, now his wife. A lot of responsibility is going to be on his shoulders, the heir to the throne, and a lot of responsibility as a dad too, dealing with his 3 kids. So, you know, my heart goes out to him. And this is, you know, I've covered the royals for about 30-odd years now, and I mean, I think we had that thing called the Annus Horribilis that the late Queen Elizabeth talked about. Well, this is right up there in terms of a terrible year of 2024, the diagnosis of the King, and now with Catherine, the star of the royal family. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this.
Robert, Victoria, Dr. Sutton, Maggie, thank you so much. We are going to continue our coverage. We're going to take a quick break. Don't go far.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers
in Putin's Russia.
On the ground in Ukraine.
Close to the front line.
From the capital.
Destructive Cat 4 storm.
You're along I-5.
Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
Tonight, tracking the powerful storm bringing heavy snow and rain to the Northeast. Plus, will Donald Trump secure a bond in time to protect his properties from seizure? More Americans turn to World News Tonight with David Muir, the most watched newscast on television.
Give it to me. Give it to me.
Why do so many people start their day here?
From ABC News, this is Start Here.
To be in the know and get a different take on the day's top stories.
A lot of news today, so let's get into it.
Listen now to the Daily News Podcast honored with 4 Edward R. Murrow Awards and see why the New York Times calls it a news podcast worth listening to. Start Here, ABC News. Make it your daily first listen.
Now, that's a part of the story I bet you didn't see coming.
Wherever you get your podcasts, Start Here.
First thing in the morning.
There's a lot going on.
Yet another avalanche warning that's up.
To catch you up with what happened overnight. A dangerous ice storm is impacting the morning commute.
What's happening today? Escalating tensions in the Middle East.
What people are talking about, the migrant crisis.
Fast, straightforward.
With some fun in between.
How does billionaire sound?
Sounds good to me. The moose started chasing a dog.
First thing in the morning.
America This Morning.
America's #1 early morning news.
On ABC News Live.
Thanks for streaming with us. I'm Terry Moran.
And I'm Kira Phillips. We do continue to follow our breaking news coverage of Catherine, the Princess of Wales, revealing to all of us in the world that she has been diagnosed with cancer.
The princess, in a statement, has said she is in the early stages of preventative chemotherapy treatment now, which she started in late February. She said tests following abdominal surgery that she had back in January first revealed the cancer.
So for more, let's bring in our royal contributor, Robert Jobson, who's alongside our other royal contributor, Victoria Murphy, also our medical correspondent, Dr. Darian Sutton. Robert, let's go first to you. Just the fact that she came forward, she made this video, she addressed everybody, the way she did it, the way that she looked, it was very simple, very humble. Do you think that was hard for her to do?
Oh, undoubtedly. It must have been very difficult for her to do when you're dealing with your own medical condition. But I think she did exactly the right thing after all the speculation online and all the nonsense that's been out there, the trolls, etc. I think she just wanted to show people this is coming from her. It is a statement from the heart. It's a statement about her medical condition. But also I do think it's important that she appealed for privacy for her and her family, because she's got 3 young kids, and you know we mustn't lose sight. I know that they are royals and she's the Princess of Wales, but we mustn't lose sight of the humanity here, that she's got to deal with the children first, and that is something that really did come across in that statement. I also thought she was very, very brave to do what she did, and the way she did it was almost brought a lump to your throat, didn't it? I thought that really was quite powerful. I do feel for William at the moment, because he's got a lot of responsibility with his father, who is obviously being treated for cancer, now his wife as well. And the focus of attention will be on him to sort of, and of course, Queen Camilla, to sort of carry the weight of the royal family going forward.
Robert, you're absolutely right. It did bring a lump to your throat. Her vulnerability and strength at the same time, it was remarkable. I want to go back to Victoria on one of the things Robert just brought up. So the king is living with cancer, fighting cancer right now. This has been a huge disruptive year and more in the royal family, and now this. And I wonder, you know, there are duties that the royal family has. The people of the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth look to them for certain ceremonial and you know, deeper duties that they perform for their people. How's that going to go down?
Well, I think this is an incredibly difficult time for the royal family on a personal level, because they have 2 people in the family who are now being treated for cancer. And then on a professional level, this family business, the firm as we call them, that keeps the show on the road, that gets members of the family out there performing public duties, being visible throughout everything, they are struggling to be able to do that in the same way that they were for necessary reasons, because people are medically unable to do that. So I think it's a really difficult time. You know, the royal family has become slimmer in recent years accidentally, because Harry and Meghan have chosen to leave and Prince Andrew has stepped down. So there are very few working royals now out and about, and the ones who are being as busy as possible. We've seen Camilla carry out visits to the Isle of Man, to Northern Ireland. She's got more visits coming up, but there's only so much that this small number of individuals can do. And so the absence of the king and the Princess of Wales performing public duties will definitely be felt very keenly. The king is trying to be as visible as possible and to try to still carry out the duties that he can, and that's been very clear all along. But I think for the Princess of Wales, I think she is a mother with 3 young children, and she has, I feel, made it very clear in this message today that her focus is really going to be on her family and her recovery. And I think everyone here would say that's absolutely, if that's what she needs to do, then that is what she should do.
Maggie Rulli, you have been covering the royal family as well for us for years. Just give us a sense of the reaction there, not only among folks there that are hearing the news, but even in your own community, your own neighborhood. I mean, this is a place where you live and you work, and you know, there's an affection clearly that the people have for the royal family. Tell us how they're feeling about Kate and what she means to them.
Yeah, well, here I can tell you, even just the newsroom, we heard there was a royal announcement happening today. I don't think any of us thought this was the announcement. And when it came out that Princess Kate had been diagnosed with cancer, I mean, everyone was just in shock. You know, Kate used that word shock. It's something that we keep saying. I think it cannot be overstated how unexpected this really was. And I think that's what the people of London and the UK are feeling right now. You know, Princess Catherine is so beloved in this country. She's constantly rated one of the favorite royals, if you look at the polling of royals here in the UK. And so to have this happen to someone like her, someone who's so young, 42 years old, the mother of 3 young kids under the age of 10, someone who often when she goes out on royal tours, you know, is seen playing sports and everyone wants to know about her outfits. I mean, people really have looked to her over the years and grow up with her as she's dated William for so many years before getting married. So this is something that is touching a lot of people here in the UK. And I think as we rewatch that video again and again, you know, we heard Robert and Victoria both say how vulnerable she was, how humbling it was, how real and raw she was and emotional. And I think that will really resonate with people here. And her final paragraph there, that final plea that, you know, she wants other people to know who are also dealing with cancer right now that they are not alone. You know, I could also see her really using this as a platform. She mentions the joy she finds in work, and we know that she's used her experiences with kids, something she's passionate about in the past for her charities. Perhaps it's something she'll work in going forward. So I think, you know, the whole country is really watching Princess Catherine right now and the whole royal family. And I think that the tone is going to be one that's quite somber now for some time.
And respectful and encouraging as well, Maggie, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I want to take a little bit of that to our Dr. Darian Sutton. So part of this care that her people and people around the world have for her is, you know, how's she doing? And she disclosed this bravely to an extent, right? So one of the things we heard, she didn't choose to share the exact, precise diagnosis, but she did tell us that the treatment at this point is preventative chemotherapy. What's that?
Well, preventative chemotherapy can be different from one person to the next depending on what the diagnosis is. So most commonly, when we talk about preventative chemotherapy in a clinical sense, it often means, number one, we're trying to prevent the risk of recurrence. We're trying to prevent whatever was removed from coming back. Also, sometimes there might be a mass that is removed and there's concern that there's residual cancer cells. And that is another indication why a patient might undergo preventative chemotherapy. There's also questions about the type of chemotherapy, because that also dictates or kind of indicates what kind of path that patient will take. You know, whether or not we're talking about targeted chemotherapy or we're talking about more general chemotherapy. These factors are important to know for the patient to understand what to expect. But regardless of all of this, as we were saying, support is the most important factor here. You know, being able to relate to the millions of people who are going through the same process or a similar process, to understand that it's not just about living but thriving in that moment, understanding how to find that social support so that you can reach out when you need to, because this is a path that it's not a sprint, this is a marathon.
So, Robert, let me ask you, you know, there was hope that those there in London, even across the world, would see her on Easter with her family, but it looks like it was this statement, and now she is going to be working on her recovery and her treatment. It doesn't look like we are going to see her out and about for some time. How will her duties change?
Well, she has been spotted out and about, other than just that one video we saw a couple of days ago, and she has been seen in Windsor, so she's going about her business. But what will happen, I think, is there's no way that she'll be at that, I can't see it anyway, she'll be at the Easter gathering. It seems that probably the family are going to have a break away from the public eye. There was talk that she'd be back by, say, the middle of April, perhaps, but I can't see that happening now. Clearly, she has to focus on getting well and spending time with her children and her husband. And I think it was a clear message by giving this video and sharing this video that she expects her privacy and is best to be off limits now until she's ready to come back. And I think this is, in many ways, though, because some of the questions have not really been answered, there's going to start a whole new wave of people chattering online, etc., which is going to be a problem. But I think that's something that she will put behind her. She'll focus on what she's got to do, which is getting well, dealing with her medical condition, and looking after her children. I don't see we can expect to see her doing public duties for several months now.
And that, what Robert just said, I'd like to take to Victoria Murphy. So, Victoria, this is a family that has just been through an insane epic episode of speculation online and people casually taking, you know, their lives, their interests, their kids, their past, you know, just peddling it around with these wild theories. It was my family. I'd be really angry about that. How are they handling this? And although Robert said, look, this could touch out yet another one, do you think that the mood changes around the game show that the royal family's lives have become since she went into the hospital?
Certainly think the mood has changed today. I mean, for a start, releasing that video filmed by the BBC, I don't really see how anyone can persist with these conspiracy theories that have been so rife online after that. And I think that was very important to her to say this in her own words, to be seen very clearly and to be very direct. But, you know, my understanding is that one of the reasons for the timing of this announcement was because their children, George, Charlotte and Louis, have now broken up from school for the Easter holidays. And so they are now able to be with their children, take them away, have time together as a family, be in a bubble, and their children are not going to be going to school, interacting, talking to other people as this news is kind of hitting the world. So this timing, I think, is actually about protecting their children, which is fundamental to them.
And Maggie, I understand that Prince William has now put out a statement.
It's the king. It's the king.
Hi, Kira. Yeah, the king actually just released a statement, which is telling because both the king and Kate were in hospital together. If you guys remember, they both went in for surgery around the same time. And we since know after his surgery, the king was also diagnosed with cancer. So you can imagine this is a very close time for the family right now to be going through these joint tragedies together. I want to read the statement for you now. It just came out moments ago. It says, His Majesty is so proud of Catherine for her courage in speaking as she did following their time in hospital together. His Majesty has remained in closest contact with his beloved daughter-in-law throughout the past weeks. Both their majesties will continue to offer their love and support to the whole family through this difficult time. You know, I think we talk about how we've been following the royal family for years. There's obviously been so much turmoil in the royal family in recent years, but tragedy is often a time that can bring families together. And the fact that both the King and the Princess of Wales are going through cancer at the same time like this, I mean, not only could that bring them closer, perhaps the whole family, and I think it will be really interesting to watch both of their recoveries, their response to it, and what it means for the whole family.
Maggie, thank you. Victoria, Robert, appreciate you. Dr. Sutton, so much. Our coverage does continue. Break, don't go far.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers.
In Putin's Russia.
On the ground in Ukraine.
Close to the front line.
From the capital.
Destructive Cat 4 storm.
We're along I-5. Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
Tonight, tracking the powerful storm bringing heavy snow and rain to the Northeast. Plus, will Donald Trump secure a bond in time to protect his properties from seizure? More Americans turn to World News Tonight with David Muir, the most-watched newscast on television.
Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star Erica Jane.
Celebrity attorney Tom Girardi.
This story was a nuclear explosion.
Today, several victims will get a chance to meet Erica Girardi.
Erica, why did it take you so long?
The Housewife and the Hustler 2, only on Hulu.
Why do so many people start their day here?
From ABC News, this is Start Here.
To be in the know and get a different take on the day's top stories.
A lot of news today, so let's get into it.
Listen now to the Daily News Podcast honored with 4 Edward R. Murrow Awards and see why the New York Times calls it a news podcast worth listening to. Start Here, ABC News. Make it your daily first listen.
Now, that's a part of the story I bet you didn't see coming.
Wherever you get your podcasts, Start Here. What does it take to be the most watched newscast in America?
We are part of an operation.
Is this our Combat Operations Center?
We're approaching the gate. Militants came in from different directions. Nuclear reactor. So you have a couple loaded and ready to go. The house is destroyed, but the flag.
Not a tear in it.
How important it made the USA.
Great work.
Hi, appreciate you.
Thank you.
Ismail? David.
I'm David Muir.
I know you are.
You
Watch
do?
you every night.
ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast. You're watching America's #1 streaming news. Keep streaming with ABC News Live.
I'm Wade Johnson reporting from Maui. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
First thing in the morning.
There's a lot going on.
Yet another avalanche warning that's up.
To catch you up with what happened overnight. A dangerous ice storm is impacting the morning commute.
What's happening today? Escalating tensions in the Middle East.
What people are talking about. The migrant crisis.
Fast, straightforward.
With some fun in between.
How does billionaire sound?
Sounds good to me. The moose started chasing a dog.
First thing in the morning.
America This Morning.
America's #1 early morning news.
On ABC News Live.
And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kira Phillips.
And I'm Terry Moran. We have breaking news this hour. The Princess of Wales has been diagnosed with cancer. The palace has not, however, said what form of cancer she has.
Kate saying, though, in a videotaped statement that she's in the early stages of preventative chemotherapy, which she started in late February. Here's what she had to say.
I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you personally for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding whilst I've been recovering from surgery. It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who have taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful. In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present. My medical team therefore advised that I should undergo a course of preventative chemotherapy, and I'm now in the early stages of that treatment. This, of course, came as a huge shock, and William and I have been doing everything we can to process and manage this privately for the sake of our young family. As you can imagine, this has taken time. It has taken me time to recover from major surgery in order to start my treatment. But most importantly, it has taken us time to explain everything to George, Charlotte, and Louis in a way that's appropriate for them and to reassure them that I'm going to be okay. As I've said to them, I am well and getting stronger every day by focusing on the things that will help me heal in my mind, body, and spirits. Having William by my side is a great source of comfort and reassurance too, as is the love, support, and kindness that has been shown by so many of you. It means so much to us both. We hope that you'll understand that as a family, we now need some time, space, and privacy while I complete my treatment. My work has always brought me a deep sense of joy, and I look forward to being back when I'm able. But for now, I must focus on making a full recovery. At this time, I'm also thinking of all those whose lives have been affected by cancer. For everyone facing this disease, in whatever form, please do not lose faith or hope. You are not alone.
For more, let's bring in our royal contributor, Victoria Murphy, and our medical correspondent, Dr. Darian Sutton. Victoria, after all these months of speculation about Kate's health, quite the reaction, not only from London, but across the world to her cancer diagnosis.
And I think especially because of the way that she's chosen to announce it in this very personal, very direct message. And I think it's very difficult to watch that message and not feel emotional, because she's clearly being very brave. She's clearly showing what I've come to recognize as that really kind of cool exterior and staying very calm. But I think you can tell in watching that just how difficult this has been for her, as she says. And I think for her now, this is all about protecting her family. The timing of this announcement has been timed so that George, Charlotte, and Louis, they're not going to be going to school now. They're breaking up for the Easter holidays, and they're going to be having time together as a family. I think also what it also does is it also answers these questions about when will we see her next, which had started to kind of build in pace, because there is the Easter Day service when members of the royal family come out on Easter Sunday, and there was a lot of anticipation building. Are we going to see her there? And this kind of pressure, if you like, on when is she going to come back to public life. And I think in putting this statement out and making it very clear that she needs time to focus on her family. We're now hearing that, this after Easter, this idea that she's coming back just after Easter does not seem to be the case anymore. It's now going to be when she feels she can and when doctors advise she can. But we understand the context a lot more for that because of this personal message.
And Dr. Sutton of Buckingham Palace is not saying what type of cancer the princess has. She chose not to share that detail. We know that she did undergo abdominal surgery on January 16th, that the cancer was discovered in tests afterwards, and now she's going through preventative chemotherapy. So when you hear that, what do you make of that?
Well, Terry, the possibilities here are wide. When you talk about abdominal surgery, that can include anything from below your sternum all the way down to the pelvis. And so the types of cancers that can be included in that include things such as stomach cancer, colon cancer, liver cancer, as well as uterine and ovarian cancer. So there's a wide variety of problems and types of cancers that can come and be within the abdomen. Now, of course, we don't know as we respect her privacy, but then what follows that is what type specific cancer it is, and then what necessary treatment goes with that. We understand that she's getting preventative chemotherapy. Now what that looks like in the future, we just do not know. But I'm sure that she'll have likely repetitive screening exams to see if the initial event of surgery and the chemotherapy were successful, to rule out any risk of recurrence and to make sure that she's as healthy as possible.
So, Victoria, this is coming at a time where King Charles is also being treated for cancer. I mean, this is a pretty extraordinary moment for the royal family and the British people.
I mean, it feels completely extraordinary. We've never had anything like this. This is a completely unprecedented situation. And it does feel, in a way, kind of destabilizing, because one of the things that the monarchy provides is this kind of continuity. And, when members of the family are ill, it's completely understandable that they just cannot be out there doing these duties and being seen and being visible and performing in the way that we're used to seeing them perform. And I think this is difficult for them because on a personal level, it's difficult. You've got family members who are ill and have received shock news, and they're all coming to terms with that and trying to protect the children as well. And then on a professional level, the monarchy is just unable to perform right now the level of duties that we have been used to seeing them performing. And there's just no way that they can get out there and be as visible as they have been in previous years.
And we are receiving a number of statements as the news has come forward, and Princess Kate has put out that statement. This one coming from the King himself. Buckingham Palace actually released this. His Majesty is so proud of Catherine for her courage and speaking as she did following their time in hospital together. His Majesty has remained in the closest contact with his beloved daughter-in-law throughout the past weeks. Both their Majesties will continue to offer their love and support to the whole family through this difficult time. Victoria, talk to us about just the relationship between the King and Princess Kate.
Well, I think the language in that statement really says it all. This is the King. This is someone who's head of state. He releases messages on a regular basis, and the tone of this message is completely distinct. It's so personal. It's so heartfelt. You can tell just how much he wants to get across in this message, how much of a bond he has with her, how strongly he feels about her, and how devastating this has been for all of them. And I've seen over the years, witnessed this relationship kind of building between the Cambridges, as they once were, and Prince Charles and Camilla, and seen them carry out joint engagements together, seen them interact together on the public stage, and seeing William and Kate also be this kind of very stable professional support to Charles and Camilla as they have become king and queen. And we really saw that in evidence at the coronation last May. And so I think it's a very, very heartfelt, personal message from the King, very different in tone to a lot of the messages that he releases, and done deliberately to show just on a personal level how much this means to him.
You could say that. And he is the patriarch of this family and obviously sovereign of his country and people, and has a lot of work to do, across those responsibilities. And Dr. Sutton, I want to go to you on something that the princess said in her statement that she delivered. She said, I am well and getting, this is what she says she told her children as well. I am well and getting stronger every day by focusing on the things that will help me in my mind, body, and spirits. The British famous for having the stiff upper lip, but there is medical truth and grounding in what she's saying, isn't there? That a recovery from cancer is a full-on, full-person job.
Absolutely. That mind-body connection is so vital and so important. One of the reasons why, as physicians, we always recommend patients reach out for support, whether that be with their own family and their friends, or just with prescription therapy or with group therapy. You know, these methods are needed because they help provide that level of support that emotionally is so important and valuable. Fighting this fight alone is even more difficult. So I can only imagine she's probably surrounded by those who love her. She has the support of her family, and she's obviously a courageous and strong woman, so I wish her nothing but the best.
Another statement coming in from Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. She has shown tremendous bravery with her statement today. In recent weeks, she has been subjected to intense scrutiny and has been unfairly treated by certain sections of the media around the world and on social media. When it comes to matters of health, like everyone else, she must be afforded the privacy to focus on her treatment and be with her loving family. I know I speak for the whole country in wishing her a full and speedy recovery and look forward to seeing her back in action when she's ready. You know, a lot of the media scrutiny and sort of the bizarre things that we saw online came after Victoria, the photoshopped picture of the family. Any idea, any thoughts on maybe why Catherine thought that was the way to, I don't know, get some type of message out?
I think it was a really genuine mistake. I genuinely think that she did not realize the serious error in making edits to that picture. I think a lot of people make edits to pictures, and she was thinking of it as a family portrait, but obviously not quite connecting with the idea that it was going to be released as a news image and as a matter of record for a message from the royal family, and therefore it was going to be expected to be subjected to these much more stringent regulations. What I would say about that is that I think the fact that she put her hands up and apologized very quickly and put out that very personal message, it was her mistake, she owned it, she didn't sort of hide behind a vague message from her staff. I think that kind of says a lot about her character, and it kind of matches with what we're seeing now. She's coming forward and she's sat there in front of a camera and delivered this very personal message directly to the public about what is going on with her. And I think really she has taken the time to do things as much as is possible on her own terms. You know, I don't think the timing of this video announcement was to do with the reaction to anything. I think if they were going to be reactive, they would have done it earlier. I think this was about waiting until it was right for her and her family and her children for her to do this in her own way.
And Victoria, she did, and she's done it in her own way, and what a fine way it really was in a difficult situation. She showed the steel and courage that you've been talking about. I want to follow up, Victoria, on this day, right? So it's a little after 7 o'clock in London. Now, you've been working this story all day. I understand there was a briefing that you had, and then the statement itself, and you've obviously been reporting for us on this. And this is a subject that there's a person and the royal family that you cover all the time. And I wonder if I could ask your own feelings right now, your own reaction to what is shocking news for the whole world, to say nothing of someone whose job it is, you know, to be close to this family, to translate what they're doing for us and for others.
I mean, I think the overriding sentiment was shock, like most people. I think most people will be feeling complete shock this evening when they've heard this news. But I think, as I'm sure you can connect with, there is that separation when you're trying to impart the information and trying to be as unemotional as possible about these things. But, you know, I do relate very much. You know, I'm similar age, I have children a very similar age, actually. And I really, really feel for her, because this, you know, I imagine talking to your children about these things and thinking about how to explain these things to children is one thing, but when you're in that position and you know that everyone is going to be talking to them about it, they might hear things from other people, you might have to tell them something and ask them not to tell people, and all of these things must be going through her mind, and that really just adding to what she is dealing with right now. So I do have a lot of empathy and feeling very much for her right now.
One more question, Dr. Sutton, if you don't mind. Princess Kate saying she's in the early stages of preventative chemotherapy treatment, which she started in late February. Can you tell us what that involves?
Well, the question here is, what type of cancer are we specifically treating? Because then that tells us what type of chemotherapy would be best. When you talk about preventative chemotherapy, it can be subjective and different from person to person. The main goal, most commonly, is to prevent the risk of recurrence, but then also in some cases, you might have what's called residual cancer cells that are still there that you want to make sure are eliminated. And then when you talk about chemotherapy, there are different forms that you can give it in. In some cases, you can give targeted chemotherapy, and in other cases, you can give more general chemotherapy. And as you can imagine, the symptoms associated with more general chemotherapy are typically more of what we more commonly know about. For example, the nausea, the hair loss. But overall, and when you look at this from a 1,000-foot perspective, we really don't have any context here because we just specifically do not know what type of cancer we are treating. But what we do know is that there will likely be future imaging, screening studies, and regular surveillance to make sure that whatever is done here is successful.
Absolutely.
Victoria Murphy, Dr. Darian Sutton, appreciate you. Coming up, when we come back, the rest of the day's news, including the calls to remove House Speaker Johnson from, well, none other than Marjorie Taylor Greene.
First thing in the morning.
There's a lot going on.
Yet another avalanche warning that's up.
To catch you up with what happened overnight. A dangerous ice storm is impacting the morning commute.
What's happening today? Escalating tensions in the Middle East.
What people are talking about. The migrant crisis.
Fast, straightforward.
With some fun in between.
How does billionaire sound?
Sounds good to me. The moose started chasing a dog.
First thing in the morning.
America This Morning.
America's #1 early morning news.
On ABC News Live.
Why do so many people start their day here?
From ABC News, this is Start Here.
To be in the know and get a different take on the day's top stories.
A lot of news today, so let's get into it.
Listen now to the daily news podcast honored with 4 Edward R. Murrow Awards and see why the New York Times calls it a news podcast worth listening to. Start Here, ABC News. Make it your daily first listen.
Now, that's a part of the story I bet you didn't see coming.
Wherever you get your podcasts, Start Here.
Oh, we want to turn now to some other breaking news overseas, and this is shocking. Russian state media is reporting a shooting, some kind of shooting, followed by an explosion occurred at Crocus City. That's